Use your powers for evil, Shield.
Your evil is mine.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Next Stop Everywhere, the podcast all about Doctor Who and all the fun that entails. I'm Jesse Jackson, and joining me, as always, is that guy who can't get enough of Twin Peaks, Charles Skaggs. Hey, Charles.
Or Doctor Who, for that matter. Yeah. Hello, Jesse. How are you? But Twin Peaks
I
is
am good.
always a good little nod. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. This is your birthday week, isn't it?
It is my birthday week. I had a birthday yesterday.
And did you get any Whovian gifts?
I did, actually.
Okay.
Only one, but I now have a Doctor Who license plate frame.
Ooh, nice.
Thanks to my lovely wife. It's it's blue. It says police public call box at the top, and then at the bottom it says bigger on the inside.
Nice.
So that's going on the ride.
Yeah.
Here probably sometime this weekend when I get some time. But yeah.
Very cool. As we're recording this, Sunday is Father's Day, and there may be a chance I get something Dr. Whovian related on from either CJ or LJ. So yeah, so that's going to be very fun.
That's awesome.
We got some news that is a little disturbing. The War Doctor, John Hurt, is been diagnosed with cancer. And we want to send good wishes and speedy healing to him. He's an amazing actor, and it was so cool that he joined the Doctor family.
Right. Yeah, for those who don't recognize the name, he's the guy who played the War Doctor during the 50th anniversary year. Excuse me. In 2013, he was in the Day of the Doctor, and then also at the very end of the Name of the Doctor, and then he was also briefly in the Night of the Doctor with Paul McGann, when Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor regenerated into the War Doctor. But yeah, he apparently, Sir John Hurt, who he's very famous for all kinds of roles. I mean, he was like Ollivander in the Harry Potter movies. He was he was in Alien. Just all kinds of great films. So great actor. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which is not one of the great cancers. I mean, if you're going to get cancer, that's not one you really want to get. So, but we're still giving him major thoughts to him and his family for a hopeful and promising recovery. I am, in fact, wearing my War Doctor shirt in thinking of him, just keeping him in our thoughts. So, if you would, just if you feel inclined, please send your good thoughts his way.
Yes, very a great actor, and really a wide range of roles, and had done a fair amount of genre stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, and so we're wishing him the best.
Definitely.
You can, if you're a listener, you're probably going, wow, it seems like Jesse's really stalling before we start talking about the episode. And ding, ding, ding. Yes, you're very correct.
Well, he did slip in a few minutes late, I might add, to our scheduled time.
Absolutely. I was a whole 3 minutes late, according to my watch. It is, I have to share that it is always a joy talking the Doctor with Charles, and I feel so blessed, and I'm not being overly sentimental when I say that we get to do this, and it makes the the new series a lot of fun, and we're going to continue to do some review. And we're so happy that people listen to us. So Charles has been driving the bus lately about what we're going to review. So he gave the whole reverse the polarity map about here's the episodes we're going to do. He picked the episodes, and he kind of led the charge on the Big Finish idiot audios, Big Finish idiots, Big Finish audios. And so I'm like, I'm not pulling my weight, so I should give a suggestion.
Yes.
So Doctor Who and the Daleks was on American Movie Classics, and so I had taped it, and I said, hey, I know it's not an official really Doctor Who story, but maybe that should be fun. And Charles said, yeah. And he said, it's, I have the version where the people from Mystery Science Theater make fun of it, but if you want to do it, Jesse, sure. And I got to tell you, this thing is terrible. I had to work to finish the film. And I will be fair, Charles sent me a quick message and said, I kind of warned you, we can punt if you want, and we can do
That's
something
true.
else.
I did give
And I
you an
said,
out, to be fair.
yes. And I said, no, no, no. I mean, we should have fun talking about it anyway. So so I'm now turning back the steering wheel to
No
Charles
problem.
during the off season, at least a while, and let him pick a little bit
With my
fun.
copious notes, once again.
Yes,
Yep.
right. So we're gonna talk. Doctor Who and the Daleks is out in 1965. It's one of two Doctor Who films with Peter Cushing as actually playing Doctor Who, not the Doctor. They call him Doctor
Right.
Who. I guess the significance of this is it's in color, and that's the first time we've seen any kind of Doctor Who in
You
color.
are correct, sir.
And of course, the
Yep.
Daleks are there. The Daleks are there. But just what are your quick thoughts? I've already shared. I'm like over this thing
problem.
already, and truly have dreaded talking to Charles about this. It's like, damn, I got to talk to Charles about this. And so, we were supposed to record on Monday, and I was getting ready for my Game of Thrones recording, and Linda's out of town started this morning, so I'm like, oh, I don't want to use Monday night. I'll just wait till maybe Charles and I can move, and since Linda's out of town, we'll do it Wednesday. And so Charles was like, sure, we can do it on Wednesday, and so, but now we're here. I picture this as, the pool that's the water's freezing cold, and you just have to not
Jump
put your
in.
toe in. You just got to jump in, just get through the shock, and talk about.
Well,
this film.
I had the advantage. I mean, I've seen the movie before. I saw it a long time ago as a kid on this local station out of Cleveland. It was on the Big Chuck and Little John show, which was this, like this was back in the late 70s, early 80s, where you had local celebrities. They were like hosting like really bad movies, and it's one of those Saturday late night features or Friday night late night features. So you could see all kinds of obscure movies like Hammer horror classics, or like Blob movies, or Godzilla, or King Kong, or stuff like that. And this was one of those. And this is, like Jesse said, this is the first of two Doctor Who non-canon films that were actually based on two Doctor Who stories. This one, Doctor Who and the Daleks, was based off of the Daleks, which was William Hartnell's second story, the first appearance of the Daleks on TV, written by Terry Nation. So at the time, the Daleks became this huge phenomenon. And it was like, I mean, there was Beatlemania, and then Dalek mania set in. I mean, this is what got Doctor Who on the map. It wasn't the Doctor himself or the TARDIS, it was the Daleks. That's what captured the kids' imaginations. This is what they were playing on the playground. So, in order to capitalize on that, they made a movie, and instead of just they they basically took the bare bones of the Daleks, the TV story, and they took the character names and the general plot, but then they kind of came up with their own thing a little bit. And not very, it's not exactly the finest production to come out of the 1960s, let me just say. But this was written by Milton Subotsky after adapting from Terry Nation's story, and directed by Gordon Fleming. Uh, as Jesse said, it stars Peter Cushing, the guy who played Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars. So there's your Doctor Who Star Wars connection for those of you who need one. Um, as Doctor D, like Dr. Period Who. And then you had Roy Castle as a version of Ian Chesterton, the character that was played on TV by William Russell.
And
Go ahead.
and I'm going to stop you there. I think part of the problem
Hmm.
is they play Ian as such an idiot.
Yes,
I mean,
he's
not
Dick Van Dyke.
yeah, and not with the charisma of Dick Van Dyke.
No,
He keeps.
he's a bumbling moron, basically.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
that's first off. You go, there's no way Susan would be attracted to this guy.
Hmm.
And there's no way that the Doctor would put up with such a fool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think back of they had one of the show runners on Modern Family on the Nerdist Writers podcast.
Right.
And he says every once in a while he'll tell the writers, Phil can't do that. Phil Dunphy, the part played by Ty Burrell.
Okay.
And he says, I have no doubt that Ty would kill it, that it would be funny as hell, but you can't make Phil that dumb that you can't understand why Claire loves him.
Right.
So and I thought that was really good because they do a great job of making him just dumb enough and kind of naive enough that he's lovable, but he also has redeeming qualities. And so I think that shows why Modern Family, I think, is good as it is because good writing.
Right.
Ian had no, I mean, and I don't think this is anything against Roy Castle. I'm sure the man was a fine actor and did good stuff in other things, but the way they wrote him, it was just truly horrible.
Yeah. He's nothing like the TV Ian. He's nothing like William Russell's Ian. On TV, Ian was, he's a school teacher. He's very intelligent, often quite heroic. And a kind of like he's basically like the strapping male lead on Doctor Who. So it's a complete. It's almost like an opposite of the way Ian Chesterton should be, in my opinion.
I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched any of the first Doctor, and so I know you're going to fix that. Yes, indeed. But and another thing on our list should be the TV movie that came out on the 50th anniversary. We haven't covered that.
The Day of the Doctor.
Yes. The actual making of the Doctor.
Oh, okay.
That BBC movie.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but
oh, you mean?
I think that.
You mean An Adventure in Time and Space?
Yes.
Yeah, by Mark Gatiss. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be
cool.
We should put that on. That would be on our list.
Yeah, we'll put that on our bucket list.
Okay, good. But yeah, so I know that when you're trying to put together a show, right? They weren't sure that if the first Doctor,
Right.
would he be the dashing leading man and the action hero? And so, they kind of cast that. And boy, this was just really uncomfortable to see.
Yeah. Cushing's doctor is he's much more like absent-minded, kind of like I mean, the doctor is eccentric, but
Yeah.
he's just kind of like the doddering, absent-minded scientist professor type in this film. And
Yeah,
so
and
he's nothing like
uh,
William Hartnell's gruff, cantankerous, um, first Doctor.
yeah, and there is no spark.
Mhm.
There isn't any that he's clever,
Right.
that he's smarter than everyone in the room. Um, it really was missing. Um, I could live with Susan being a young girl. That didn't necessarily bother me.
It bothered me
Um,
big time.
it did. Oh,
It
good.
bothered me huge.
Expand on that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
With Susan, Roberta Tovey, um, who you just who does it, who's actually the smartest person in this group. She's smarter than the
Yes.
doctor, even though she's like what, all of 8 years old. Um, and
Right.
as opposed to Carol Ann Ford's Susan Foreman on the TV show, who was roughly like 16ish, or we don't know how old
Yeah.
she was because she's Gallifreyan, but
Yeah.
she was in British high school, so we kind of figure she's roughly in that age, 15, 16. And
Yeah.
so consequently, I mean, she's a young girl, but apparently, she's like the prodigy, in this film. And
Hmm.
so consequently, she gets she basically figures out most of the stuff. I mean, she's the one actually doing things, not the doctor. So it's almost, and in a
Yes.
lot of places, she's, like she's the one stepping up to the plate more than, Ian, who, is off, being Ian, or the doctor who's just not capable and kind of fumbling around. The only other person in this group, Jenny Linden, as a version of Barbara. Though in this she's called Barbara Who, and she's one of the doctor's granddaughters. So she's like, Susan's sister in this continuity, instead of being just Barbara Wright, a fellow school teacher like Ian Chesterton, played by Jacqueline Hill. So
Hmm.
yeah, you know, it's just completely anathema compared to the television series. And so if you're able to tolerate that and just treat it as like, okay, it doesn't count really, and it's something cute to watch, then good. So,
And I think part of the problem, and um, it's up to you if we want to. I don't particularly need to go through too much of the
well,
move story, but I know you've made a lot of
well,
notes, so if you
well,
want
I
to, you
just want to hit
can.
some of the like
But
amusing things that I noticed as I was going through
okay,
and
but
stuff.
it it's not a very strong story. At least from my
Right.
perspective, and maybe I couldn't get past the bumbling idiot part. You know, sometimes a good story, you get
Right.
lost in the story.
Hmm.
He and Charles and I were talking before we started recording that I went to see Love and Mercy today, the film that is based on the life of Brian Wilson, the Beach Boy um, musician. And I was totally amazed into that story and was sucked in by the performances, and almost found myself in tears a couple of times because of his life. And then actually toward the end, I did start crying, but then I cry at sentimental
You
commercials.
old
But
softy.
exactly, this one, I did not feel connected to the
Hmm.
characters, and it did not move me. So, how about you? What do you think? It's a better story than I'm giving credit,
Well,
or
I mean, the TV version is a better story. The
Okay.
what this is based on, what this movie is based on, is much better.
Right.
It's much more, especially at the end of the first episode, when there's a great scene in the Daleks where this you are getting that first tease of the Daleks for the very first time because you see their little like um, protuberance, their little like I don't know, it's like the plunger essentially coming. But the
Mhm.
thing is though, it's beautifully shot in black and white, and it's this great scene where Barbara is kind of like she's backed up against a wall, and the Dalek is coming toward her, and all you see is the plunger arm,
Mhm.
and she's just horrified, and she just lets out this terrifying scream, and it's just it's much more serious in tone than this movie. It's not 60s camp, and it's, I mean, you still have those basic elements are there, but they're it's told much more effectively in my opinion. So don't base the first story of the Daleks on this movie because it's kind of really not the same thing.
So, I want to go through some
Yeah,
of the things you found
yeah.
amusing, but why do you think this doesn't work?
Well, I think, like mostly because of Roy Castle's Ian as this bumbling
Okay.
buffoon. Um,
Mhm.
because it's there's a lot of elements in this story that are kind of played for laughs, especially with Ian. And
Yeah.
it's they didn't back in especially back in the 60s, they had kind of a camp take on science fiction in a lot of ways. It wasn't treated very seriously. Um, so I think that it was basically a cheap attempt to cash in on the phenomenon that was Dalek mania at the time.
Mhm.
That's my opinion
Okay.
on it.
Okay, very nice. And thinking, we have
Yes,
Daleks, we have in
yes,
color, so we're gonna see this great
right.
set.
And
And
I'm
don't
sure
get me
people were
wrong.
excited about it at the time watching the film because
Yeah.
this is 1965. Doctor Who was still in black and white, so they're like, "Oh my God, Doctor Who's on the big screen and it's in color. This is awesome."
Yeah, I can remember our parents getting a color TV,
Hmm.
my parents getting a color TV. Yes, I'm that old, listeners. And Time Tunnel was was either in first syndication, or it might still have been on the might have been still prime time. And the idea of watching Time Tunnel in color was amazing. Seeing all the graphics and
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
for those of you who can't see, I'm doing the thing that the two leads would do when they were going through time. So but unfortunately with us, we're used to watching things in color.
Yeah.
Uh, we're used to seeing amazing TARDIS sets. You know, um, it's not a surprise that the Doctor lies about something,
Hmm.
right? Because in Spare Parts, the
Yeah.
Big Finish
Well,
audio we just listened to, the Doctor lied, right?
rule one: the Doctor lies.
Absolutely.
So this is not a new concept.
No, not at
Um,
all.
and he actually lies in the Doctor lies in the Daleks version as well, in the TV version. The whole business with the fluid links, because he wants to go explore the Dalek city. That's right out of the TV show.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
because his curiosity is there and he wants to go check it out, and everybody's like, "Well, why don't we just leave because it looks kind of scary?" So, um, okay, so you ready to run this thing down a little bit?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, I'll try and hit
So
the highlights. I won't hit the whole thing, but
no, no, no. Yeah, I mean, you've done the research.
well, that's all right.
Um,
I don't wanna have to, like,
yeah,
drag
yeah.
it down. Um,
No.
but I will, we'll talk about, like, when the movie opens, um, I'm sure you've noticed this, that, it's already wrong from the start because they don't have the traditional Doctor Who theme music.
No.
You don't get the da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum,
No.
da-da-dum, ooh, ooh. Yeah, you don't get all that. You just get some generic 60s sci-fi movie music that's not very
Yeah.
memorable. Um, you've what was I gonna say? Then when the TARDIS dematerializes for the first time, this is after like Doctor Who takes Ian out back to the shed, that out back,
Mhm.
which is actually like his back. I was like, oh, by the way, I've got this wacky new invention I created in the backyard.
And, and that's just right there. You're going,
What?
okay,
I
they're
mean, I'm
all sitting around reading
yeah.
scientific magazines.
Mhm,
Like, hey,
mhm,
look, viewers, they're smart.
yeah. Can you imagine if the internet existed back in 1965 when this movie first opened and Doctor Who fans, how they would have reacted? I mean, if they had
Oh,
had
yeah.
Twitter back in 1965, I mean, it would have just exploded at the
Hmm.
time. I can just, I mean, the diehard fans were just probably like, what are they doing? This is all wrong. This isn't Doctor Who. So, um, like the TARDIS takes off after, of course, Ian comes in, checks out the TARDIS, and then Barbara comes to hug Ian, and then he falls over, does this pratfall right on this big giant lever that says "pull me" practically, and the TARDIS dematerializes, and it doesn't, like do the
No.
doesn't do the traditional wheezing, you know, that we're all, so used to. So they get that wrong, and it's just yeah. Um, so that
It's so wrong not to do the sound,
right.
right?
I mean,
I mean,
where you're stripping
that's,
away the basic elements. You stripped away the theme, you stripped away the TARDIS sound. You're kind of changing how the TARDIS operates.
hmm
You've established that it's this, machine the Doctor invented as opposed to just stole. But we don't know that on
yeah,
the TV show. But
yeah.
and the characters are different, so it's already like this jumbled mess. Um, the TARDIS shows up on Skaro, in the middle of the petrified jungle, which is covered in ashes. Ian wants to go home, which is pretty much the only sensible thing Ian does in this movie. He's like, we should just go back, okay? Why are we doing? Um, but Susan, Susie, as the Doctor refers to her in this version, calls him out. She calls him a coward, like flat out to his face.
hmm
She's like, coward. And so it's like this little girl is calling you out and then just walks out and is like, okay, I'm gonna go, see what's going on. She takes charge.
Yeah.
She walks off. She's like, hey, there's a city over here, and then the Doctor Who comes by and he pulls out his binoculars, like, well, I don't see any life, but I'm really kind of interested in what's going on. We should go check this out.
Yeah, that was really odd. And, um, and you do, they just seemed, everything kind of seems haphazard.
Yeah,
And I realize that's part of the charm of the Doctor,
yeah.
is so they can do things, but you're just like, wow, really? So yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, they go. The doctor comes up, like Jesse was talking about earlier, that the doctor comes up with this big lie saying, um, you know, uh, like they try to take off but can't. And I use "can't" in air quotes because the doctor's,
yeah,
he says, "Well, there must be something wrong with the TARDIS." He calls it, and that's another thing that bugs me. He calls it with something wrong with TARDIS, not the TARDIS. It's
yeah,
TARDIS.
and basically the TARDIS is out of dilithium crystals.
Well, it's
And,
well, this was an element that was in the story that at the time
uh,
they had these what was called fluid links, and it was like this
mhm,
component in the TARDIS that apparently needed mercury to operate. Now the Doctor lies and says, "Oh, we need some mercury. I don't have any around here. I guess we need to go to the city and hope they have some." Now he says
mhm,
this knowing that he's got, a working TARDIS, but he's taken the fluid link out. Why
Yeah.
he brings it with him, I have no idea, but he does. And so like they go there, they encounter the Daleks. The Dalek sprays Ian with this paralyzing gas, and of course, the Dalek takes the fluid link from the Doctor. So right there, it's like, okay, we're kind of stuck here now until we solve this problem.
Yeah, and it is a really dumb move,
Yeah,
right? That and I guess you could look at it as I'm bringing the key to the
right.
car, but you would have that somewhere secure.
Yeah.
So okay.
So they get so
Yeah.
they Barbara gets captured first, but then everybody gets brought into the cell, the same cell, and then they start complaining of feeling weak, and they start showing signs of radiation sickness. Um, because they were brilliant and did not check the radiation settings before leaving the TARDIS. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, they go out there, and to be fair, they aren't new at this. This is their first trip, but still,
Right.
Um, so yeah, so uh, the Daleks tell them, "Oh, by the way, the Thals have this cure, but somebody's gonna have to go get it because we can't leave the city." So who steps up to the plate but Susan? Like
Right.
you've got Ian, like who, okay, maybe he's still recovering from the paralyzing gas, but I mean, you had Barbara. Barbara is a little more adult than Susan, but she doesn't go. The doctor is just like, well, I'm going to stay here because I'm, like, oh, I don't know. I've forgotten why I'm here. And so Susan's the only competent one of this group. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Susan goes out to get the drug. There's like this cloaked figure stalking her, which turns out to be Aladon, the leader of the Thals, which is this. Um, you find out that the Daleks and the Thals were at war, which is why the planet got scorched in this the kind of nuclear war. The Daleks, uh, you know, became these, like mutant blobs that hid inside this, these Dalek casings, while the Thals stayed outside and but found a way to deal with the radiation sickness. So they kind of are thriving, even though there's not really much out there on the planet. Um, Go ahead.
Yeah. That's
And that's straight science fiction right there.
absolutely. It truly is. And it the potential is there to be
Hmm.
something interesting, right?
Well,
You know,
again, the TV show.
but
Watch watch the
yes.
TV show.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, what's funny is this version of the Thals, like for some reason, and I can only chalk this up to the '60s. They're wearing like bright blue eye makeup with like long fake eyelashes, and
Yeah.
and just and which I think is just hilarious because they almost look like this tribe of drag queens,
They did, didn't they?
and
Yes.
the Aladon ends up giving Susan this drug supply, the second one. He actually gave everybody a drug supply earlier, but they didn't know what to do with it. So this
Right.
time he gives her one with the intent of so that she can bring it back. And he gives her, and this is like, I'm not sure why he does this, but he gives her a plastic cape. And the
Yeah,
plastic cape is apparently a big deal to them, as we see later on, for some reason, but it's something like, "Ooh, you've got this plastic cape here. It'll keep you safe somehow, even though you're already dying from radiation sickness." But hey,
yeah. And it kind of reminded me of the whole James Brown,
yeah,
putting a
yeah.
cape, it's like really
The Godfather.
Eddie Murphy doing James
Yeah.
Bond. Yes. James Brown. Yes.
Um, yeah. Susan goes back to the Dalek City, returns with a drug, gives it to everybody, um, and that surprisingly the Daleks allow her to give it to everybody because they're kind of like want to see if it works for one thing. And then they ask her to write this letter to the Thalls. They just happen to have a pen, which is good considering they have no hands, but they have a pen. And
Right.
she's sitting there, and this is one of the things that just cracked me up. Susan is sitting there writing this letter like she's writing a letter to Santa Claus, and it's like right there next to three lava lamps, because apparently the Daleks were really big into lava lamps or something. They just thought it might brighten up the place. I don't know, but their
Yes.
big alien technology is three lava lamps, which that cracked me up. But yeah, they're basically they want to use Susan to trick the Thalls into coming into the city under the guise of friendship and like, hey, we'll have some food for you because we know you're starving. Now, Susan, again being the most intelligent one, uh, like pockets that pen and brings it into the cell and just proceeds to start like taking out this camera that's watching them in the cell. I mean, Susan is pretty much MacGyver in little pint-sized little girl form in this movie. While everybody just kind of stands around and was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Even the doctor.
Yeah. And I wonder if they did that because they were going for a
Oh
younger
yeah, I'm sure this
audience.
is geared toward children because Doctor Who was geared
Yeah.
toward children back then.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. So it's kind of almost like Willy Wonka in a way, where you've got the kid who's
Mhm.
doing like the most intelligent one doing everything, and you've got a doddering grandfather. So it's kind of like Willy Wonka in that sense. Um, the doctor realizes the Daleks travel by static electricity on the floor, which is why they can't leave the city. So Susan offers to use that big important plastic cape to sever the Dalek's connection to the floor, insulate it. And this is where the team actually starts to act like a team because Ian uses his lighter to prop open the door so it doesn't close. Barbara grabs this glob of food, crams it in the Dalek's eye stalk, and then like they get the Dalek disabled, and then the Ian scoops out the inside, and this is where wacky Ian gets into trouble because he climbs inside the Dalek.
For what purpose? I don't get that. I was very confused in
Well,
that.
well, well. The reason they do that is because so that Ian could sneak them past the other Daleks. He's pretending to be one of them. It's basically like in Star Wars, where
Okay.
like Han and Luke dress up as stormtroopers,
All right.
and they take Chewie down to the detention center.
Yes.
Okay, so you kind of getting where you kind of get it now.
Okay.
Okay, that's basically the idea.
Okay.
To use a more modern reference, but um, it's still kind of a dopey plan. But okay, you know, it's a dopey movie. And but of course, Ian ends up getting stuck in the Dalek casing, and wacky hijinks ensue because the doctor's trying to get him out, and they got to hurry because other Daleks are coming, and they're kind of like cutting through the door, ready to come in. Um, so Ian, in a kind of self-sacrificing move here, probably one of the few noble things he does in this movie, um, tells everybody to go ahead and escape in this slow-moving elevator while he stays behind because he can't get out. But of course, the dogs come in and they fire a weapon, and everybody's supposed to think, "Oh my God, they just killed Ian! Hooray! They killed Ian!"
Okay.
But but sadly, he's still alive, and he got out just in time off screen,
Mhm.
and he goes up with the others to the next floor above. Um, there's a Dalek that follows them in that slow-moving elevator, which is only apparently big enough for one Dalek at a time. So great
Okay.
design there.
Yes, absolutely.
So they go up to the top floor, I guess, and the group decides, okay, well, this Dalek is coming after us. How can we stop it? So they all grab this computer bank that's nearby and move it into the elevator shaft and drop it on the Dalek and take out the elevator,
Right.
which is pretty effective, granted.
Yes, that's nice.
But I'd like to know how. I guess this equipment must be easily movable. That you could just kind of scoot it across the floor. Boom, it's dropped.
Well, it's static electricity. You get to move. Yes.
So yeah, I had one or two problems with this movie. Um, just a few. Let's see. We've got the Thal show up looking for food. Um, and then like the group just shows up just in time to go, just like Admiral Akbar, and go, it's a trap.
Yeah.
And of course, it's too late because the Daleks start opening fire and they kill one person, an elderly Thal guy. So one person dead. Um, they decide, okay, we're gonna escape and go back to the TARDIS, but the Thals, um, like the Doctor Who urges the Thals to fight the Daleks, but
Hmm.
Thals turn out to be pacifists, and they're like, we're not gonna do that. So that's not working. So they're like, okay, I guess we'll leave now.
Yeah.
Sorry that you don't want to fight the Daleks. So we're gonna go, and they activate the TARDIS. But guess what? Um, the Daleks still have the fluid link. Everybody's forgotten about it. This is all important fluid link, and
Yes.
nothing happens. So they're stuck there still. So all of that was like for nothing, and you just wonder why they
Yeah, you would think they would go. It just, yeah, that's a huge hole.
yeah,
Um,
that's a big
it,
hand wave.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, exactly.
So I guess they decided to head back to the city because they got to get that fluid link. The Daleks, they start doing like tests. They get like some unlucky Dalek gets to be the guinea pig, test the Thal drug, and he starts like freaking out. And they realize that the Thal drug isn't going to work on them, so they kind of get into a snit and decide, well, okay, if we can't get cured, then we're going to detonate a neutron bomb on everybody, and we'll just wipe out the Thals that way.
Yeah, so let's just double down
Yeah,
on this, planet.
like we've already nuked the planet. Let's nuke it again.
Yeah, let's, that trick never works. Yes.
Um, the Thals, meanwhile, still refuse to fight because they're pansies,
Hmm.
and so the Doctor, and this is one of the few clever things the Doctor gets to do in this movie. He tells Ian, and this is kind of out of the TV story. He tells Ian to pretend to take Aladon, the Fall Leader's girlfriend, Ione, to the Daleks in exchange, and use her as like to swap her for the fluid link.
Hmm.
And so he does this knowing that hoping that it will upset Aladon. Aladon does get upset and punches Ian right in the kisser. So hooray, Aladon.
Yes, it does make him one of the most popular members of the, cast.
Yes. And that because of this, this act of violence, the Doctor Who is like, well, I guess you could go fight the Daleks now. So let's go fight the Daleks. So
Yeah, it's like, oh yes,
yeah,
now that you've pointed out that we, our
yeah,
our core beliefs are
yeah.
silly.
You've kind of torn
Yeah,
down our whole society just because
yeah,
you want to get your fluid link back that you
yeah.
stupidly brought to the Dalek City.
And you're not even pretending like, James T. Kirk, that it's for it's to save the society, right?
Right.
This is just flat. Hey, I need to use you.
Well, to be fair, they don't have that pesky, no
Prime directive.
prime directive, yeah, to ruining
Okay.
everything. So, and that's what makes Doctor Who cooler than Star Trek.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Drop the mic. Drop the
Wow.
mic.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
And I say this as a former Star Trek writer. So,
Yes. Yes.
so I love Star Trek. Don't get me wrong.
I know.
So I'm just saying Doctor Who's better. But um, so the Doctor gets some thalls, and they come up with a plan to, like, okay, let's go through this dangerous swamp, which pretty much resembles the fire swamp from Princess Bride.
I was going to ask if rodents of unusual size are
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but sadly, there were no ROUSs.
Okay.
So yeah, they have because of the radiation. There's all these supposedly mutant creatures lurking around the swamp. And the whole plan is so that they could sneak up on the Daleks from some other side, even though, hey, they can look one direction, maybe they can look another direction. So one of the Thals gets killed by some mutation in a river. So, like, they keep, talking about, like, oh, there's all these mutations in the swamp. Well, we never actually see one. Like,
Right.
there's this one shot where, like, the one guy, Eladon, is like, he's there getting some water from, like, this river, and then the next thing you know, we see he's been, like, sucked in. He's already in the river, going blub 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 blub. Nobody's jumping in after him to save him.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody. They're like,
Yes.
well, he was pretty stupid, so okay, we're just gonna leave him dead. Um, Ian and Barbara, meanwhile, they have another team of Thals, and they follow these Dalek pipes up this mountain in this really slow climb. I mean, if you had, like, the fire swamp, um, from Princess Bride before, you have the cliffs of insanity in this slow moving climb um, up there. So they get up there. Um, like, Doctor Who and Susan and Aladon lead this one group of Thals in front of the city. Their whole plan is to attempt to confuse the Dalek scanners by waving mirrors around in the hopes that this will freak them out. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. Complete
No.
fail. Ian and Barbara. Oh yeah, Doctor, and of course, in the process of the big mirror fail, Doctor Who and Susan get captured. So well done.
Yes.
Ian and Barbara, meanwhile, they have to jump this supposedly huge chasm that's maybe all of 2 feet wide,
Okay. Yes.
and so they're like, it's this big struggle to hop 2 feet, but love. Sure enough, so everybody gets across except for this one Thal who's, like, completely freaked out. He's like, nope, not gonna jump, not gonna jump. They throw the rope at him. Still not gonna jump. Okay, fine, I'll jump.
Mm-hmm.
And so he jumps, and of course he misses and falls down the chasm.
Right.
Problem is, he's still tied to Ian on the other end of the
Yeah.
rope, and Ian kind of gets dragged over the edge, and we're like, "Yay, we're finally done with it." No, doesn't happen. Ian's not dead; he's still alive,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, because this other Thal cuts the rope and saves Ian, brings him up. And it turns out the guy who fell anyway just landed safely below.
Yeah.
So any hopes of actual drama are
Right.
lost.
Yeah.
You felt
Yes.
that way too?
At this point I'm going, how much longer is this movie? I just really have no, I'm not engaged at all with the story. And that's a shame because, but
Yeah.
I don't really care, which is sad.
Well, you just laugh at it. That's why
Ex-
you don't have to
Yeah.
care. You can just enjoy it for what
Yes.
it is. Like, haven't you ever watched a bad movie and gone, like, like, oh, that was fun because it was so bad?
I'm not one of those. I know that,
So you don't like
I
Mystery
am
Science
not a guy,
Theater,
and
Rift
no,
Tracks, or
but
anything?
my my fellow Whovian uncle, and partner in crime, Ken Schaefer, actually that's his favorite part. He loves watching bad movies, and in fact will
Yeah.
will complain that someone's saying that this is a bad movie. It's like, oh no, this is not a bad movie. You know, this is not even close to a bad movie, right?
Right.
So cool. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same. I love bad movies. Um, as long as I mean, if it's kind of intentionally cheesy, or
Yeah.
even if it's not, as long as it is cheesy, I will
Yeah.
dig it.
Okay.
Um, I've watched some really bad stuff just because it's just fun to make fun of and go
Oh,
laugh
cool.
at it. The the Daleks, of course, start the ticking clock countdown at 98
Yes.
because they've got all day. It's like, well, we could have started at 10, but we're going to start at 98, and just so they're while they're threatening Doctor Who and Susan, Doctor Who offers to tell the Daleks how the TARDIS works if they'll just stop the countdown.
Right.
So I'll give you all of time and space if you stop the countdown.
Yeah. And
And they say no.
yeah.
They're like, no, we want to blow the crap out of this planet again. We want to blow it up real
Yeah.
good.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Barbara, in her one of her few winning moves, figures out how to open this gate to get inside the side entrance.
Mhm.
And of course, the Daleks ready right there, starts attacking them. But they all escape in another slow-moving elevator,
Mhm.
and they end up getting saved by Aladon and another group of Thals, who decided, hey, we kind of like those people, and we came back to rescue them. So they came back to rescue Doctor Who and Susan. So um, the Thals, this group of Thals, attacks the Daleks in this control room. This is the big, climactic sequence,
Yeah.
and which has basically it's the Thals shoving the Daleks around the room, and nobody getting killed. Oddly
Right.
enough,
Well, of course not.
even though the Daleks have all these weapons on them, um, Ian tricks the Daleks into destroying their own computer
Mhm.
bank, or their own control computer. So, in the process, this shuts the Daleks down and shuts the countdown down, and everybody's saved. I guess thanks to Ian, even though it wasn't intentional.
No, not at all.
He was just, trying to not get shot and hoping for the
Yes.
best. But so it's all, the countdown's down to 3 just in the nick of time, and Ian's all like, "Well, that's my favorite number."
He really was just a tool.
He's a twit.
He just
He's a complete
horrible.
twit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Doctor Who, it's all said and done. Doctor Who gets his fluid link back, gets it back to the TARDIS. The group says bye, bye. Everybody says bye, and Aladon gives Doctor Who his own plastic cape because those plastic capes are awesome.
Yeah, I guess they are. And
Maybe he figures, well, he needs a, like a kind of uh, like a little tablecloth for the outside
yeah,
patio furniture or something. I
yeah,
don't know, but
it does.
or maybe he figures it's gonna rain. Hey, you're gonna go, to a Beatles concert or something. You're gonna need a poncho, or I don't know.
There you go. Okay, I can see that. Yes.
I don't
Okay.
know, but and so. Doctor Who says, "Okay, Ian, you can go ahead and push that giant lever, and we'll go back home." But unfortunately, the TARDIS lands in the middle of an advancing Roman army.
With truly horrible special effects, right?
Well, keeping in mind the time
I'm just
period,
saying, Charles,
1965.
at this
Yes,
point,
I know. It was like stock footage of like
yes,
a Roman movie, a Roman army
right.
movie. I don't know if it was like um,
Like
like a Spartacus
the
or
first
something.
Ben-Hur, not the one
Yeah,
with Chuck
something.
Heston, but like the first version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course, this gives Ian the wacky opportunity to do his shtick.
Yes.
He's all flailing about, panicking, going, "Oh, it's a Roman army. We got to get out of here. Blah, 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 blah." Shut up. And he's all hastily messing with the controls and flipping everything no matter what it would do. No matter if he could blow up the ship. But he's like fiddling with everything, pushing the lever back and forth.
Right.
And that's it. That's our movie.
And I'm sitting there going,
Thank God
yeah,
it's
I
over.
tweeted Charles, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. you know, but
Yeah, Jesse felt the need to apologize.
yes.
That's how bad this
Well,
movie is.
and I will tell you right now, Charles's synopsis of the movie summary was more entertaining
Yeah,
than the movie.
thank.
So, and that is,
I hope so.
it was very much.
Did
It
I
was so bad. I do not have a favorite quote from the movie.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a favorite
Okay.
quote.
What?
I've actually have two favorite
Good.
quotes to make up for you
Yes.
slacking on the job.
Right.
One quote is, "Anyone can understand science if they only put their mind to it."
Yes, that was a pretty good
That
line.
was by Doctor Who.
Yes.
So science is that easy.
Yeah. There you go.
Just concentrate;
Yeah.
it'll come to you. Um, and then the other Doctor Who quote I liked was, "Young men, do you know what you have just done? You have transferred us in time and space, and I haven't even set the controls. Now I don't know where we are."
That's a pretty good impression. Very
Thank you.
nice. Um. So
So that's Peter Cushing, and then
yes.
he, of course, the Doctor. Like he fights the Daleks again, and Daleks 2150 invasion of Earth 2150 AD,
Right.
and then goes on to rule the Death Star and get blown up inside the Death Star.
Absolutely.
The end.
So what would you rate this?
I love bad movies, so I'm going to give this one a whole 4 out of 10.
Hmm.
Fluid links.
So I am also going to give it 4. I'm going to give it 4 boxes of smashed candy. so,
Why?
uh,
Oh, because Ian sits his butt on
yes,
it.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
wacky Ian, that
yes, and
darn.
where the and the doctor's like, "Oh, you brought me chocolates," and it was very, very, for there you thought, okay, we're going to be clever, and they weren't. So,
Yes.
all right. So, um, tell me, I guess we have 2 more things to talk about. One,
Yeah.
what is the cleanser you're going to assign
Yeah.
me to get the
Well,
taste of this bad
do we
episode?
want to do that, or we want to do the reverse the polarity
Well,
segment?
that's what that's we've got that, and we've got reverse the polarity. So let's reverse the
Okay.
polarity, and then tell us what we're going to do next.
Okay. Reverse the polarity. We're going to go back, of course, to 1963 with the Daleks.
Okay.
This is the good one, the Terry Nation. It's 7 episodes, which like in today's standards, would essentially be a 3 hour, roughly
Okay.
3 hours. But it's totally worth it. It's a great story. It's the first Dalek story, first appearance of Scarrow. Uh, the Doctor, Susan, Ian, and Barbara. Like in this movie, they land in the alien jungle or are captured by the Daleks. A race of mutated creatures who are surviving off the radiation that remains in the atmosphere after a nuclear war they wage with their enemies. But and in order to save the Thals from the Daleks, the TARDIS crew, convinces the Thals the importance of aggression and warfare. So it's pretty. The bare bones is there, but it's told much better here.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and at the end, they believe they've actually destroyed the Daleks, but as of course, the Daleks took off and everybody liked them. So it's like now we have Daleks 50. Here we are, 51 years later.
Yes, and you can never get rid of the Daleks. It's just too important.
Nope.
All right. So very good. All right. So what are we going to next week?
Okay, well, instead of going on to that second movie, I
Yes.
thought it might be a better idea to go ahead and watch the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Okay.
This is the 10th ever Doctor Who story. Um, it's the last one with Susan. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. So this is the first time we have a companion departure.
Okay.
So it's kind of a big deal, especially since it's the Doctor's granddaughter.
Okay.
So kind of a big deal. And this Dalek Invasion of Earth was, um, adapted, with the Peter Cushing movie called, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD.
Okay.
But I don't know why they decided 2150 AD needed to be on the title, but they did. Um, but that one, that film version is very interesting because it features the actor that played Wilfred Mott on modern Doctor Who,
Ah, okay.
he's in that movie.
Okay, very nice.
But not the TV version, but he's in the movie version. But and it's a really great story, and it gives us the quintessential Dalek invasion moment where the Daleks are marching down Westminster Bridge. That's been adapted various times
Okay.
throughout the year and paid tribute to. So it's pretty much a classic, and there's a great um, delivery, like a little monologue by the Doctor at the end when he says goodbye to Susan. That was used in at the beginning of the Five Doctors.
Okay.
So
All right. No,
definitely worth watching for that. So I'm
that's
hoping you'll enjoy this much better.
I'm looking forward to it. I trust you. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna go off the reservation again. um, yeah, that sounds great. Where can people find you, Charles?
They can find me on Twitter at Charles Skaggs or on Instagram at Charles Skaggs. On the Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus, Facebook, and my blog of geeky things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot. So
Okay.
I talk about all kinds of things like Doctor Who, Next Stop Everywhere.
Yes, I am at JWJ170104 on Twitter. I am on Facebook as well. You can go to our Facebook page, Next Stop Everywhere, and give us feedback, give us thoughts, tell us what you'd like us to talk about. And as we continue to work through this, the long dry period between Doctor Who seasons.
Not too much longer. It's either going to be, Series 9 is going to be here probably very end of August or very early September. So it's
Yes,
only a few months away, just a few months more, guys.
right.
So if there's a Doctor Who story you'd like us to review, drop us a line on Facebook or on Twitter. Let us know. Um,
Hmm.
we'd love to hear it. Something preferably we haven't done before.
Absolutely.
So just let us know, and hopefully we'll have some guest hosts in the near future.
Yes,
We've
we
been
are.
talking about it, but we need to make that happen, I think.
Yeah, so we just need to coordinate and get some people. We've heard from 3 or 4 people at least that have given us what episode they want to cover, and it's been a wide range.
Hmm.
And so Ken is worried his is too long, so he's going to pick a shorter one, though he says that one is really good.
The
The
the invasion,
yeah,
yeah, that is a good one.
yeah,
It's 8 episodes long, which is just a little bit longer than the Daleks TV
yeah,
story, but it's a good one.
mm,
Pe-
yeah. Okay,
Can't go wrong with Patrick Troughton.
absolutely. So good. All right. Um,
That about it?
Thank you guys. Yep, I think that's going to wrap it up for now. We're going to say keep hope alive and remember, never knowingly be serious. That's rule number 27. You might want to write these down. So thank you, Charles. Thanks, listeners. We will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.